General Hospital spoilers show that a new group is quietly coming together behind the scenes. It feels less like the usual contract talks and more like the start of a big change on the way. There's talk that Cameron Mathison might be leaving General Hospital, and if that turns out to be the case, it looks like the writers are planning an exit that won't be easy or soft. Instead of finding redemption or making a strong comeback from paralysis, Drew's future might take a darker turn that's harder to undo. For months, viewers have seen him stuck inside his own body, held in a chemically caused stillness controlled by the one person who promised to love him. Willow's control started out as careful precision, a strategy to keep her secrets safe and help her rise in politics. Control based on fear usually doesn't last. The tension has been building up missed doses, emotional cracks, growing pressure from outside, and now the riskiest change is just ahead. In her desperate attempt to keep control as things start falling apart, Willow might push too far and take an overdose. In her mind, it wouldn't start out as murder. It would start as a correction, a bit more of the dose to calm those small muscle twitches. Drew's eyes cleared again as the syringe was adjusted to keep that sharpness from coming back. He made a quick decision, feeling like his body was working harder than it had before. Chemistry doesn't cut any slack, and trying to suppress it is a delicate game. If you get too much of a neuroinhibitor too quickly, the system that was just quieted can actually shut down completely. The tragedy didn't come with loud shouts, but with a chilling silence. Drew's breathing started to catch, becoming shallow and uneven. The blinking that once quietly showed defiance began to slow down, until it finally stopped. Willow was sure of her changes at first, but she only realized too late when things shifted, the look drained from the room, the usual push gone, and the silence that went from tense to something that felt like the end. Panic doesn't hit right away. First comes denial. She'd check his vitals with shaky hands, quietly saying his name like saying it louder might somehow change what was happening. But the reality hit him with a cold certainty. This time, the drug didn't hold him back. That was the end of him. The shock would spread well past the bedroom walls. For viewers, it would be heartbreaking to realize that Drew's long time in prison wasn't leading to a rescue, but instead to being erased. The story would shift from waiting to wake up to facing the reality that some things are gone for good. Willow, who used to be calm and collected, started to break down under the weight of what she had done. There wouldn't be any fancy cover story for this. An overdose raises a lot of questions. Medical scrutiny grows deeper. Political ambitions fall apart. Sidwell, who used to respect her cold calm, would now flinch at how reckless she'd become. A Drew whose hurt can be dealt with, but a dead Drew is a problem. If Cameron Mathison is really leaving, this story wraps up in a harsh way. No last-minute recovery, no big courtroom reveal, no heroic moment to save the day. It's a quiet build-up that finally fades away into complete silence. The aftermath would be complicated grief mixed with suspicion, and sympathy shadowed by doubt. Was it just a mistake? Did you mean to do that? Did Willow really intend to silence him for good when she felt she was losing control? The uncertainty stuck around, sparking rumors and stirring up emotions all over Port Charles. Maybe the most chilling part about Drew possibly leaving is that it wouldn't be noticed with a big scene, but rather by quiet fading away. A woman who kept telling herself every change was needed, until that need turned into a deadly mistake. If this is the route taken, Cameron Mathison's exit wouldn't come across as heroic or redemptive. It would feel more like a tragic outcome. Drew's body, once trapped but still breathing, ended up showing just how far manipulation can go when no one stops it. Willow found herself alone after everything fell apart, her empire crumbling around her. The quiet she used to demand now bounced back at her, empty and cold. And for the audience, the shock isn't just that Drew was gone, but that his death didn't come from some outside enemy or big conspiracy. Instead, it came from the very people who were supposed to keep him safe. In that quiet moment, General Hospital ended a chapter without tying everything up, leaving a haunting emptiness that stays with you well after the screen goes dark. As Cameron Mathison enjoys sun-soaked moments with his daughter in the beautiful Canary Islands, a much more intense storm seems to be brewing back in Port Charles. The actor has been sharing simple, happy moments walking on windy beaches, standing by volcanic rocks, looking out over black sand that meets the Atlantic, snapping playful selfies, and laughing freely with his daughter in candid shots. Looking back, the trip to Spain's Canary Islands feels like a symbol: wide open skies, endless ocean, and a quiet break before things changed. Word is that Cameron Mathison is set to leave General Hospital sometime in the next couple of months. That confirmation changes everything. For months, Drew's story has been sinking further into a kind of mental trap. What started off as a temporary medical mystery slowly turned into a chilling kind of imprisonment, all because of Willow's deliberate and quiet control. Viewers were expecting things to heat up, sure, but maybe not quite like this. If Mathison really is leaving for sure, it looks like the writing team is making a big change in the story. It doesn't seem like a usual goodbye, but more like a planned collapse. The medical crisis that kept Drew stuck might not be the turning point it once seemed for getting better. It could be the start of fading away. The change happening in the story right now feels planned out, like it's being done with precision. Instead of a chance for redemption or a dramatic courtroom showdown, the story feels like it's heading toward consequences that can't be undone. Willow is becoming more desperate to keep control. Every injection, every change in dosage, every try to keep Drew from waking up has become more dangerous. If Mathison is leaving, the writers aren't going for an easy exit. They are going with volatility. They're going with a plot twist that reflects the mess growing inside Willow's head. An overdose. That was a mistake. One last try to shut down the resistance before it gets completely out of hand. That's the wild change fans are starting to expect. At first, it wouldn't be seen as intentional murder. It would come across as panic mixed with ambition. Willow notices Drew's neurological responses getting stronger, so she raises the dose to take back control. But in a story built to shock, that extra suppression could easily turn into a disaster. The careful control she once had starts to fall apart all on its own. If Drew disappears, whether he dies, gets evacuated for medical reasons, or is moved to a long-term coma, it's not just about losing a character. It would blow apart alliances. Sidwell, who had become more and more intrigued by Willow's cold and steady attitude, was about to get caught right in the middle of it all. He admired how decisive she was, but that respect could just as quickly turn into doubt. If Drew suddenly disappears due to some strange medical issue, people won't just leave it at that. They'll start digging deeper than the bedroom door. Political ambition, money behind the scenes, quiet talks, all get laid bare when someone starts digging around. This isn't a simple rewrite. It's a careful rethink of the whole situation. Taking Drew out of the story after such a heated plot shows the writers are really going for a strong emotional punch. Instead of focusing on rehabilitation and redemption, they're accepting tragedy and fallout, and that sudden change in the story lines up strangely well with when Mathison actually left. The difference is really clear. In Spain, Cameron shares a laugh with his daughter as volcanic cliffs rise behind them and the Atlantic sunset paints the sky. On screen, Drew moves closer to total destruction. The calm of the Canary Islands feels worlds away from the mess unfolding in Port Charles. It's almost like a poem, the actor gaining freedom while his character faces the last stage of confinement. If it turns out to be true, Mathison's exit won't go unnoticed. It's going to be huge. It looks like the writers are setting up a big turning point that will change Willow's path for good. Once suppression causes damage that can't be undone, no amount of political talk can cover it up. If Drew were to disappear, it wouldn't just be the end of one part, it would set off a whole series of events. And that's what makes this moment so exciting. Cameron Mathison's departure isn't going to be a quiet farewell. It shows change is happening. It was a sudden, surprising turn meant to catch viewers off guard. While the Canary Islands shine in Cameron's Instagram posts, Port Charles is getting ready for what's coming. Cameron Mathison is taking a break, and while people are buzzing about his temporary departure, it looks like something even bigger is brewing backstage at General Hospital. People are saying that Cameron will come back sooner or later, and when that happens, Drew might finally wake up. The resurrection storyline might come with a heavy price. There are reports saying Steve Burton could be leaving the show, and that Jason Morgan's character might be killed off. If that's the case, this wouldn't just be a simple casting change. That would be a huge change to the story, one of the most surprising twists we've seen on GH in a long time. The irony here feels almost like it's meant to be. Drew, who'd been quiet and medicated for a long time, might come back just as Jason, the tough survivor who's beaten death more times than anyone can count, is finally heading toward a last, unchangeable fate. For years, Jason has been the steady rock amid the chaos, the reliable presence through all the storms in Port Charles. Writing him out through death wouldn't just affect a single family or just one love story. It would break the emotional structure of the whole canvas. From a storytelling standpoint, this kind of crazy adjustment shows that things are intentionally ramping up. If Drew wakes up, the balance of power shifts right away. His recovery would break Willow's grip, reveal hidden truths, and set off a chain of events. If Jason were to die around the same time, especially during a mission connected to Five Poppies, Sidwell, or a bigger WSB conspiracy, the emotional impact would overshadow everything else. Viewers wouldn't have much time to take in Drew's return before dealing with Jason's loss. The difference would be harsh. One man struggling to come back to consciousness. One more person losing their life in what might be a last act of protection, maybe for Britt, maybe for Jocelyn, maybe for Carly. If Jason's death is seen as heroic or sacrificial or tied into a bigger political scheme, it could set off several storylines all at once. Carly would feel completely crushed. Sonny lost his balance. The Corinthos and Quartermain families find themselves caught up in chaos. And Drew waking up wouldn't just be a medical miracle anymore. It would happen in a world that's completely changed because Jason isn't there. That timing would seem planned. That feels almost cruel. If Steve Burton is really leaving, choosing to kill Jason off instead of sending him into exile shows the writers want a clear ending rather than leaving things open-ended. No assumed death. The island hasn't disappeared. There's no amnesia twist in this story. A clear and heartfelt break. That would be one of the boldest changes GH has tried in its storytelling in a long time. And that's when things really start to get wild. Because Jason has always been the guy who makes it through. The one who comes back. If they remove him, it would send the message that nobody is safe anymore. That would take the show into a darker time, where the old characters aren't safe just because of their past. When Cameron Mathison comes back, it might actually make Drew the surprising emotional heart of the story going forward. A man who was once quiet is now stuck dealing with the heavy feeling left by Jason's absence. Brothers whose paths cross, moving in opposite directions because of fate. Waking up to grief is a heavy feeling. Once it's gone for good. If these rumors turn out to be true, poor Charles is about to change a lot. This isn't just a small change. It wasn't a smooth change at all, but it was a major change. Drew coming back to life alongside Jason's death would change who teams up with who, stir up love and fights, and shift the emotional core of the show. And if that actually happens, viewers won't just see a character leave. They'll see one chapter close and something new and uncertain start.